Emily. Anyway, we're joined now by Conservative MP for Old Bexley and Sidcup, Louie French. Thank you very much indeed. This discount that single people get on their council tax currently, do you have an idea of how many people benefit from that? How many households of one benefit from that? And what the impact might be of that being taken away?
Good afternoon, Tom. Good afternoon, Emily, and good afternoon to all your viewers. And yeah, this is a really important point that I raised in the House of Commons yesterday at Prime Minister's questions. And yet again, the Prime Minister refused to answer the question straight and openly with the British public. The estimates suggest around 8.4 million people benefit from this reduction in their council tax of people living by themselves. As you've just said, this includes many pensioners, approximately half are pensioners and half are working age. And like you said, those are people that perhaps are divorced, widowed, or just alone. So this is a hit that could easily hit many pensioners on top of this disgraceful winter fuel payment decision of up to around £500 that they would lose. So this is a huge amount of money for most people across the country. And again, Labour are not being honest with the British public about what they're planning to do this winter.
I can't think of a more cruel thing to do to someone who's lost a loved one than to slap 25% more tax on them, as this tax change, if it goes ahead, would. What makes you think that the government are even considering this?
Well, Tom, I think it was quite telling yesterday when I asked that question, a straightforward yes or no question. Will you rule out cutting bus fare concessions or travel concessions, and will you rule out this single person discount? And I think it was quite clear that the Prime Minister refused to answer those questions. I raised that question on the behalf of not only the 16,000 plus pensioners in my constituency of Old Bexley and Sidcup, where I'm proud to call home, but the millions of pensioners across the country who are worried. I've had to listen as an MP in this place for the best part of 3 years to the Labour Party lecture everyone else about the choice between heating and eating. And these are the first acts that this Labour government have decided to do. It is disgraceful that they have chosen to punish pensioners so that they can pay for inflation-busting pay rises for their trade union paymasters. This is a disgraceful decision, and it's politics at its very worst.
And I wonder if you have a comment on this £22 billion financial black hole that Labour claims over and over again comes from the Conservatives and their inheritance that they have. I think we all understand the public finances are in a bit of a state. Yep. But it's interesting, isn't it, that the Treasury isn't willing to open up or produce the details on this?
Well, Emily, approximately half of that I understand, is based on decisions that this Labour government has decided to make. So let's just start with that. These are choices that they are making in government. To govern is to choose, and they are choosing the wrong decisions and wrong priorities, in my opinion. But as we've heard today, this kind of fictional black hole is being exposed each and every day. And I've just been in the Commons before coming up to this interview and listening to the rhetoric over and over again from Labour ministers and the Prime Minister, and no one's buying it. I said it on the day that Rachel Reeves first announced this in the chamber, that no one's going to buy this fictional black hole, and it's being exposed. People are not stupid. They can see what this Labour government is doing and the choices that it is making.
Of course, what the Labour Party say is that they had no choice. We can clearly see that this black hole isn't created by the previous government. I mean, like, half of it is about these inflation-busting pay rises. But what the Chancellor might well say is that if they hadn't given those pay rises, there would be more strikes. And it would have cost us in terms of productivity, and it would have cost us in terms of how many people could be treated on the NHS. Is there not a give and take here that through the Treasury's eyes, it's a tough situation, but ultimately this extra spending that they have chosen to make must be paid for somehow?
Yeah, well, that's the argument that Labour would make, Tom, and I've just listened to Wes Streeting in the chamber making that exact argument. And what I would say back to that, if you show to the union straight away that you are always willing to deal, they will continue to push for the highest price. So they are now a hostage to fortune with the unions in these negotiations. So they've come out, they've given the bumper pay rise to junior doctors, as we know. They've given a bumper pay rise to train drivers, which I think most people would see as questionable, given it's quite clear that they think that the likes of pensioners should pay for that. But you are automatically setting yourself up to fail, because every negotiation that they will go in thus after this will be set up to fail. So they talk about tough choices. Well, they need to start making tough choices. They can't keep rolling over to their union paymasters at the expense of the British taxpayer. They need to start governing in the national interest rather than this very narrow political interest, which is very obvious.
Louie French, thank you.